Hey everyone, welcome to another CNC router mixer. Bill Griggs, and I hope you will join us today. We put links to the Zoom stream uh, inside of the Facebook group, CNC hashtag CNC router tips. If you would like to join us, come along. We've got Scott with us so far. How are you this evening, Scott? Uh, Scott, you have no audio yet. You're muted. Anyway, it's been a busy week for me, doing some stuff with the CNC. I'm working on some beehives for a fellow designing it up in Vectric Aspire, and um, the software for that. I actually started the drawing in Fusion 360 and then imported it into Aspire to do some other things because I wanted to do some parametric things. And during the process, I learned some things that I will probably share with you as we get more folks here talking about CNC routers. For instance, how if you have the paid version or the free version, you can sometimes export DXF files for other programs without a lot of hassle, and you can also do some basic level nesting without paying for the nesting feature. So um, should be discussing those things a little later tonight. Uh, this whole broadcasting to YouTube Live is a new thing for me because we have been previously doing these inside of a Facebook group, and we were doing live Zoom chats with several CNC modelers, and everything was working great until Facebook recently changed their policies, and so they took away third-party access to live stream inside of groups. And because of that, we decided we would give YouTube a try and see um, what we could do with that. And so far, it's been pretty good. We've had some good results. The one of the things that I'm not certain about yet is um, what we can do with the recording. So I'm going to go ahead and press record and get started for this meeting. Okay, everyone, welcome to another episode of CNC Mixer. We talk about everything CNC router related that you want with groups um, through the CNC Router Tips group on Facebook. We've also are related with the CNC Router Tips podcast, and so this is just a chance for people to actually speak um, to each other and discuss the things that they're doing that are making um, life easier for them with the CNC router table and productivity hacks and design things that are new. Last week we had some really great information from Tally Boatwright about a new automatic tool changer that he was working with, and we also did some stuff with uh, Scott Marshburn with um, cabinet software. I believe it was called the E cabinet. I'm not sure he'll speak up in a moment or two and let us know what that was. But doing some automated stuff with cabinet making. In previous episodes, we've um, done some stuff with fourth axis, and we plan to do a little more in-depth thing with fourth axis in the future. We've discussed the new stuff that's out in Vectric version 12. It's been um, quite an adventure lately. So, if you check out Bill Griggs' channel on YouTube, you can find links to these videos, and we'll put um, links also somewhere up here in the video when we edit this and have the chance to put that stuff in there. So I'm gonna see if I can get a response here from Marsh, whether he's MIA or having trouble. If he's Scott is in the house. Um, all right. Meanwhile, I'm going to do some housekeeping, and I'm going to post the link to this chat back inside of the Facebook group so that they know where they can go to find this on YouTube. Okay, so that's a link for them. And here in the YouTube space, I'm going to have to put a link for the folks who might want to join us on the Zoom link. So, very cool. It's interesting. A lot more to manage doing it this way. Not really sure that I'm a big fan of it yet with the live streaming, because really until other people join you, it's just the monologue, sitting there. Much prefer a conversation with others on these things, but sometimes people are busy or they're just tuning in to watch at a distance, and there it is. Hey, we've got Ned um, uh, stopping in from Sydney, Australia. He should be on momentarily. Uh, Pretty cool stuff.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Ned. How are you?
Oh, you want the short answer or do you want the real answer?
Hmm.
Oh, I'm
Let's
fine.
go for reality.
I'm fine. No, your sessions are too short.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. How's the weather in Sydney?
it's actually quite crap. It's very we're entering into winter now, and it's raining and it's wet and it's miserable, and I've got council cleanup tomorrow, so I've got to go out in the wet. It's actually looks like the sun's trying to break out, so after this, I'm going to be going out there to put a whole pile of stuff on the sidewalk for the council to pick up tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. Then I've got to also do the edges of the lawn, and I don't know whether I do it while it's wet or not. But as I said, we don't have long enough to discuss all the wonderful things that I have that are making
Mm-hmm.
me happy.
Well, it's kind of interesting because here in central New York, it is coming into spring, and it can't decide whether it wants to be hot, cold, wet, or dry. So every day is an adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. At least three different weather systems today. Um,
Centimeters?
They're 29 centimeters.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just had a very important decision making thing to emphasize how warm it is here. Well, we come across an ad with those foot warmers that you can put under your desk, so you can just slip your feet in and keep them warm, sort of thing. So we're looking at one for the wife and one for my computer desk.
Sure. Got to do what you got to do. Now we can figure out a way to make a CNC product out of that. We're all set.
Yeah, well, I guess all we need to do is do the heated bed, and then if we can find a way to glue some nice shavings to it for the fluffiness, and yeah, do the Danish clogs with a sawdust or wood shaving fluffiness on the inside.
Yeah, and you sell the sawdust as a feature. a benefit instead of
Hey. If you've got clean hardwood shavings or sawdust, it sells good here.
Mhm,
It goes quickly. People use it for pet bedding. They use it for smoking meats and so on.
mhm.
Um, every time I do a clean hardwood, be it oak or whatever, depending upon what it is, I collect all those shavings. I'm with the. I've got to change my name. It says it up the top there. I'm with the Wildlife Carers Network Central West, so we look after the
Mhm,
Australian native wildlife,
mhm.
and I take clean bedding to them all the time because it costs us a fortune to get that stuff. You got a little bag of wood sawdust is like $5 or $6, and they'd be lucky to be 500 grams in that.
Wow. Hmm. Yeah, I had a an interesting awakening today when I went to pick up some metal,
Yeah.
see what the last few years of inflation have done to the price of raw aluminum. Hmm.
I just picked
Easily,
up.
go ahead.
No,
You,
go. You keep going. Yeah.
yeah, easily double, yeah,
Yeah.
double the price easily. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. You just picked up what?
Well, I actually went to a metal wholesaler, and I was looking for some RHS because I'm going to make some trolleys, some 600 by 900 by. I'm still debating on either 900 or 1,000 tall trolleys to put all my small CNCs and 3D printers on. As basically as workbenches that I can push away because I've currently got benches dedicated for it. Anyway, we'll get to the short story side of it. So I was looking for some RHS, and when I turned up to the metal supplier, he had a 1800, sorry, a 1200 by 800 sheet of 10 mil aluminium plate there, and he had $200 on it. I couldn't open my wallet quickly enough to get it off him. At
Hmm.
$200 would be something like what, probably about 130, $40 US.
Hmm.
So you're looking at just over a square. You're looking at roughly one, sorry, probably about 4 foot. What would that be in American? Probably just over, probably 4 foot square, 5 foot square.
Hmm. You put a 5 foot square piece of aluminum for $200. That was a steal.
Well, it was 400. It was so to be 4 foot by, it'd be 4 foot by just a 2.5 foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 foot by 2.5 foot. So that's probably
Hmm.
around about that size. Yeah, for two
Yeah.
hundred dollars Australian. That was, yeah. I just couldn't pull the money out of my wallet fast enough. As a matter of fact, whenever I've got a really nice scrap metal yard, I can get a lot of stainless from. They also have aluminium, but finding plates very hard.
Yeah.
Plates very handy. So anytime I'm out there and I see a nice piece of brass or a nice piece of aluminium or whatever, I think that stuff, particularly in this day and age, it's a good investment to just buy it and keep it in the yard, sort of thing.
Hmm. Yeah. It has really changed the availability in the market for that stuff post pandemic. Um, there was a shop I was buying from, an industrial shop, um, that had what they called the boneyard, where all they would sell a portion of aluminum bar to a company or whatever, or and they'd have leftover stock, some, and they would just sell that by the pound. And I got used to that, being able to source that. You buy more than you need or whatever at the time, but that has stopped for whatever reason. They don't longer do that portion of their business. It's strictly buying full bars of aluminum, or not at all.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah, and the other one that I actually just got the other day, that's for one of my customers that I contract to with the CNC work. he had a round bar of aluminium there, which was it was a little bit. It's in metric. It was just over 6 inches in
Hmm.
diameter, and it was a foot in length. It was, and I said, "How much do you want for that?" And I got that for nothing actually because I've did him quite a few favors in pickups and so on. I always believe in supporting my customers as much as possible, even if it means like a pickup or something like that for
Hmm.
them. So that was
Yep.
quite well. And that's going to be going into my. I'm doing a 72 by 50, or sorry, I don't know what 72 is in inches. Probably about no, that'll be three by 2 inch belt grind. So no, that's
Hmm.
72 inches by 2 inch belt grinder. Yeah. So that's going to be going into making a few of the pulleys for that, or a few of the idler wheels. Yeah.
Yeah, I have thought about building one of those uh, grinders, but don't really have a specific need for it. So it would probably be just one of those things that uh, I either find the use for it immediately or never use it. And so uh, I fight the urge now.
The thing is, I've got quite a fair few bits and pieces. I always pick up industrial gear, and this is something for the other guys around here. Is when you go to these scrap yards, particularly when you find a good one, in the built up areas, they recycle machinery. So you can get all sorts of controllers, relays,
Hmm.
switches, etc., motors. So and you get them for next to nothing. I'm paying something they call it power supply, scrap power supply price. I'm only paying
Hmm.
something like 28 cents, 28, 30 cents a kilo
Yeah.
for electronics. So I'm picking up um, stuff worth thousands of dollars for like a couple of bucks sort of thing. And so I've got a lot of the stuff laying around. So it's not a big outlay. A bit of aluminium plate, which is probably all that it is. And the idler
Hmm.
pulleys, the drive pulleys are probably your most expensive thing. So to throw one together, it's not that expensive if you've got the parts laying around. If you have to go and buy it new, you may as well buy a new one, sort of thing, for about
Hmm.
I think you get a cheap one for about $1,200 to $1,500.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are very handy. You can do quite a fair bit with them. I'm not a knife maker, so the 50 mil I'm thinking might be a bit narrow. So I'm thinking about going. I'm sorry, 2 inch might be a bit narrow. So I'm thinking about either going for a 3 inch or 4 inch wide belt,
Yeah.
and the the drive pulley I'm going to maybe do something like a with it's going to have the 6 inch drive wheel, but
Hmm.
I'm thinking about bolting a plate to it with Velcro or something and turn it into a rotary sanding wheel. So you can also do stuff just for, like, it's more so for finishing with stuff that you make out of wood.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of wood finishing stuff, and I'm working on building that up. So it's one thing to have a CNC router, but there's other things that you need to, as we were talking last thing, there's a lot involved in finishing. So anything that makes the job easier is welcome.
You know, John Grimsmo from Grimsmo Knives was the first person I saw using one of those grinders. It was actually his brother Eric is the grinding expert, but I'm surprised how quiet they are and how much metal they remove in a single pass. It's just really ridiculous, and it just looked handy. But I don't fabricate enough things to really make that useful for me, and I don't do knives either. And which is ridiculous. I mean, um, Grimsmo is getting over $1,000 a knife. Uh,
I know.
they
I know.
they just can't keep them in stock.
Yeah.
Uh,
Don't get me wrong. I think the price is ludicrous, but
yeah,
there is a lot of work that goes into them. There's a lot of man hours that goes into making a knife, and particularly when you're making it on a private, like hobby type
sure.
scale.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, there is a lot involved with it.
yeah. He's making collecting collector's items basically. that are actually useful, to everyday carry. There's a market for them after the sale and everything. There's trading going on. I mean, it's really quite a nice situation he's got there. I mean, he's got probably easily $1 million worth of machinery to make these things, and so many employees.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
A few of the guys are using CNC to make their knives. They're buying very expensive machines
yeah.
to cut the bevels and so on, or I don't know what you call it, the angle of the blade, and to cut the blades out and
Yeah, it
stuff
is the
like that.
bevel. Yeah, he does that as well. I mean, he water jets his blades. He then goes in with a CNC mill and mills the relief on the bevels, and then after that they go and heat treat it and flatten it and then grind it. There's so many processes that he does. I mean, the guy's making his own ball bearings for these knives. So I mean, it's really a labor of love.
Yeah, look, I think it's one of those things that you've got to be in the right group of people to start with if you're going to do knives, where you can build up a reputation to demand that sort of money. But most people that I know that are making knives, like they're lucky to get $300 for a
Yeah,
knife, and that's Australian.
yeah,
And look at the work that goes in it. I wouldn't even wake up in the morning for that amount of money. Like, not that I make a lot of money, but for the amount of work that goes into it, it really is a labor of love.
yeah. I mean, just uh, on the blade itself, they spend time um, with heat treating. They put them in envelopes and they heat treat them, and then they get them back. And after they're done heat treating them, they got to polish them. And then there's another machine that kind of uh, rubs them to get them flatter. And, it's just on and on and on.
Yeah,
Throw it in. Just wow. And he started from his garage with really small, tiny um, equipment, and just continued to build up and get his process better and better. And I was fortunate. I went um, uh, to Canada, and I actually was in his shop before he moved to the building he's currently in. Alexa, stop. Uh, so anyway, it was quite something. When I went, he was getting rid of his Tormax,
mm,
and he had just bought um, his lathe, his Morisiki lathe, I believe it was. That was can't remember. He had just bought the lathe, and he'd also bought a Tornos lathe, and he had a big milling machine, which the brand escapes me at the moment, and tumblers and all of this stuff, and he had it all crammed into a space that's barely bigger than a two-car garage. All right, a little workshop. I mean, they had machines everywhere, and probably 6 months to a year later, they were out of that place and into the shop across the street, which had two buildings, two large buildings, one with multiple floors and everything. And then they just started building up um, their
yeah. Look,
employees and businesses. Yeah,
as I said, the business model is you've got to be in a group of people that will respect and understand the product that you're making. And then once their word is out that, and most people will quite die-heartedly, when they see someone put the effort and the
yeah,
work into it, and you guys have a big US pride for US made, etc., which is something that we're lacking here in Australia. We lack a lot of pride in the Australian flag and in the Australian government. And our manufacturing has suffered big time as a result of it. But when you get a group of people that respect that and they back a person that makes things themselves, and they also understand the amount of work that goes into it, And then once you got that, it might only be 10 or 20 people, but once you got that 10 or 20 people that are out there saying, oh, this guy's product is number one, it's great, he puts the work in it, that will encourage other people to buy it, and people will then invest in that person, sort of thing. And one thing
Yeah.
I'm noticing in general with a lot of people doing arts and crafts on YouTube, there is a lot of people that respect people that do things by hand.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an amazing phenomenon. Hi, hi, Mike. How's it going?
Hey guys, good.
Yeah.
Hi Ned. Hi Scott.
Hey, how you doing?
How's it going,
How's it going
Scott?
there, Scott?
Doing pretty good. I take it
Yeah.
you guys are staying busy.
Yeah. Doing a lot of CAD lately. CAD cam. How about the rest of you guys?
Yep, I actually been doing the same thing. I've been helping out one of Bull's customers, so
Mhm.
had to learn their whole procedure and their machine and what they needed. He does all the drawings and tool paths for him, and it was like, oh, okay. So, machine I never saw, control software I never saw. So, but I got through it. I got it down now. So,
Mhm. Yeah, that's one of those things that um, people won't believe that you can actually do that. You draw something for a particular guy, set up the toolpaths on a machine you've never seen.
yeah,
It takes a brave operator to hit cycle start on the other end.
It does. Takes a
yeah,
brave designer to say, okay, everything's good to go.
yeah, right. Yeah. Just let me
Yeah.
know so I can look the other way when you hit the button, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure you turn your camera off.
Yeah.
Because I don't
Mhm.
want to see it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but the first time I run a part after doing a program for it, particularly if I manually modify the code to do things, I'll do an air cut. I'll
Always.
Yeah.
I'll rate Z 4 inches above the work, or two or 3 inches above the work, 20 or 30 millimeter, 1 inch above the work when it's my home stuff. But yeah, just let it do an air cut to see how it goes. I always watch what the Z depth is on the DRO. And if it goes beyond what I'm expecting, you hit the stop button quickly, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I always do an air cut, particularly if anybody else is supplying the material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do that. I was helping a guy with a new door style that he was doing, and had it all drawn up and everything, and we did an air cut and it looked like it was cutting fine and everything. I said, well, let's do a test cut. And he was like, no, 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 we're going to cut the whole thing. We're going to go ahead and cut it. And 2 sheets later, we finally got it down. And it's just, I was like, it's your money, do what
Hmm.
you want to. But
Yeah, and that kind of thing. It's nice that it's not yours. Your but yeah, because you can
feel
blow
bad though.
the whole profit right off of a job
Yep.
if you don't do it ahead of time.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the guys where I do a lot of the really expensive programming for expensive wood. There was a job, because all of this is like one-off bespoke work. It was I call it the really overpriced kitchen island bench. I didn't think it was that good looking, but it was a $45,000 kitchen island bench in materials and labor. Um, but it was something like 3 meters by almost 2 meters wide. And it was all hardwood, and I was doing the finger joints for it. And he basically, I had a week beforehand where we actually cut it, set it all up. We had to create jigs and everything for it, vacuum hole down jigs. And we did a test cut in a plywood before we actually worked into the material. And there was roughly, if you sort of like it was, so the top of it was say 3 by 2 meters. What's that? Three times
6x9 roughly.
6 by 9.
And yeah, something
Yeah,
like that. 6.5
6 by
by
9.
10.
with a almost 2 inch, and it was almost 2 inches thick. You're looking at, and then with the sides and everything, you're looking at close to a cubic meter of material. And I think the European oak was somewhere around about $18,000 a cubic meter. If you got something wrong, if you got something wrong, it's not that you destroy the whole wood, but because all the grain, it wasn't a solid piece. Finding good seasoned wood in Australia is like extremely hard. But and all the joins where it was sort of like, I don't know all the terms, but where you combine the battens, like when you glue them together and compress it,
Mhm.
if you stuff one piece up and it doesn't all match as it goes all the way across, basically that timber is useless and you got to buy the timber again. Maybe you can reuse some of it somewhere else, but yeah, it's a big loss. Yeah,
Well,
one of the
yeah.
hardest things with individual stuff is just the price of, I think in the US you guys still have a lot of timber mills, and you guys are like can get timber over there pretty easily from what I seem to hear. A lot of stuff is quite reasonably priced over here in Australia. It's like, yeah,
Well, if you want construction lumber, no problem. You can find that everywhere. When it comes to good hardwoods to make furniture or something decorative, that is getting a little bit harder. You got to go to a specialty shop for that. A hard place that sells hardwood. And a lot of it here, our hardwood is being used to make flooring. So um, a lot of the folks who run those sawmills or those wood places, they're like, I can just make my money making hardwood floors. Why should I, go through selecting choice pieces of furniture that, going through all the other hassles. So it's kind of an interesting development.
Yeah, then I don't know about where you are, Bill, but out here in New England, seems like everybody's sawing up slabs and trying to sell slabs now,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and there's definitely an overabundance of not kiln dried slabs everywhere.
yeah. Well, that's because of all those waterfall tables everybody's making, and
Yeah,
the river tables, and
yeah,
with the epoxy.
yeah. I just last week I built a set of believe it or not, I-beam calls for a guy that is gluing, trying to book match slabs and stuff and gluing big, 5 foot, 6 foot wide slabs. And he couldn't get them straight. So I said, I had an idea. So I just took a took a piece of 1 inch 15 ply Baltic birch and made six I-beam calls out of them and told him to come get them. And he said it worked out really good. So and then made some threaded rod like clamps to go on each end.
Mm.
So anyway, he's glued up a couple tables this week and he said it worked out good. So
And there used to be a guy who sold calls. That's all. He made calls. He had an old. He was in an old factory building or an old church or something that was converted to a factory building, and he set up this uh, assembly line that would take these calls after they were finished and everything, and they run them through a trough and dip them in wax to get wax on the side so that they never got stuck. And he was charging what seemed like a ridiculous amount of money at the time for what's essentially a bent piece of wood. But
yeah,
when you need them, I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing how flat they can get your wood.
yeah.
You Yeah. I wish I had remembered the name of that one. That's been 10 years. Um,
Well, it was a $250 sheet of plywood and all day. So
yeah. Yep. So I did a little design work this week, and I had come up with a process, um, mainly from searching around in YouTube videos. Fusion 360 used to have a lot of features included that they've taken away over time.
Yep.
Um, like the ability to nest your uh, materials. You know, when you're cutting out your different pieces, you can nest it on the plywood ahead of time. You can still do that in Fusion if you pay, but it's behind a paywall now, so you have to pay for that feature to get it going. But one of the things that they left in the software was the arrange feature, and I don't know if anybody here uses Fusion or not, but I have not really been using Fusion to do anything that I would have to nest, because Aspire does nesting really well. But in this case, I was trying to build something that was a precision fit. And so I designed the actual 3D solid components in Fusion, made sure everything fit together well. And I made it all parametric so I could change the sizes if I needed to. But then once that was all done, the person I was building this for doesn't have Fusion, has no interest in Fusion, and doesn't want to learn Fusion. But they did have VCarve Pro, and so the question, well, can you send me DXFs of the vectors? Which is a whole nother thing that they've removed and changed and taken over time. The things that you can and cannot export. So I came up with some ways to do this, but it's really convoluted. But I think I want to kind of show you or talk about it and show you maybe a screenshot of the stuff and just talk about the steps that went into it. Not in great detail, but just so that it's somewhere when I need this again once in every 7 years. And B, maybe you haven't seen this. And so I think that's what we'll do. Sure. All right. So I'm going to share the screen. So went right to the point where it shows the nested parts on the screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. And you can see some of these parts have pockets in them, dog ears, everything, so that the parts can fit together once they're assembled. And you have control over being able to flip them upside down, move them around. But this was an automatic nesting that Fusion did for these parts using the arrange command. I'm going to go out of this for a second into the design so you can see what it is. And it's really a simple design that tabs together, kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, so that you can only put it together one way and get it right. And there's different kinds of joints in here for different portions. So theoretically, if somebody's building this, they shouldn't be able to easily screw it up. Okay. But once you're in the design phase and you got that done, you go off into the manufacturing phase and you create what's known as a manufacturing, where is that? Manufacturing model. Okay. And that, I've got some things turned off here. For instance, I have the parts turned off so that they're not in the way. I also have this sheet of 4x8 plywood that is just a sketch of the perimeter size that I want. And you could actually move this. I'm not going to because I got it the way I want it. But you could actually grab one of these parts and drag it and change the size of the sheet, or you could add like dog legs and whatever. Like say you had a cut off piece of plywood and you wanted to see what you could fit on it. You can make all of that happen here using the arrange command. So let's see. I'm trying to move this menu out of the way. And it's not easy, but
Just while you're there, Bill, one
sure.
of the problems I found, and all the nesting programs have this problem, is sheet utilization.
Yeah.
And like if you look at that sheet there, if you did this manually, I believe that you could get those 3 pieces in the top left-hand corner and the 4 pieces in the top right in the right-hand corner.
You're absolutely correct. Yeah.
I think you could move them down the left side and you could retain probably around about a quarter less, maybe a little bit less, but at least you can
Yep.
retain a working piece of plywood, particularly at the price of plywood lately, of the good quality type.
I'm glad you brought that up because that is something I was going to address.
Okay.
But yeah,
Sorry. But
there,
all the programs have that problem.
some do better jobs than others. The nesting module that you buy from them with the intelligent nesting actually does a much better job of maintaining the space. This is the one that's left over in the free version. So you can still manually go in and rearrange these things. You can rotate them, you can move them around, slide them around, set up a distance between them. You can do all of that manually. But this happened in one click. Well, didn't happen in one click. It was more like 15 clicks. But that was because you have to select the top surfaces of the part that you want to lay down in here to nest. But anyway, in here, you're using the arrange command to do this. And go ahead. You were about to say something there.
Oh, no, I was just.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's assume that we like this arrangement that it came up with, just for sake of argument. Okay, it's great. Now I wanted to export this to some other program, and there's no easy way to do that, to get this drawing out to something else. Because if you export from the file menu up top in Fusion, it sends out a 3D DXF, which has lots of faces and things that you may not want in the drawing. And it doesn't let you select the exactly what you see.
I'm not a Fusion user, but is there a feature that you can actually contour all of those parts once you've got them as a 3D DXF?
Yes, that's where I was going with this.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, I ran into this problem because I figured it was much simpler than this when I took on this project. I said, yeah, I'll just do them up in Fusion and dump them into VCarve. I'll send you the vectors. Everything will be fine. That's not the case. Hey, Mike, welcome.
Hey, Bill, how's it going?
Pretty good. So I'm just going to cut to the chase. To make this happen the way you hope it will happen is you create a sketch, an offset sketch plane. Okay. Now each of these parts are down here. These are 3D parts. They're actual pictures of, they have length, height, width, dimensions, everything that you would see. Okay. But for the vectors you need to create them, really, all you need is outlines for this type of part here. For ones that have tabs on them, you need an outline and a pocket outline, right? So what I did was I created a sketch and a sketch plane on this inside of the manufacturing model. Let's see, is this the one? Yeah, this is always rough when you're doing this live. But
No pressure, Bill.
none at all, none at all. Here, I believe. Here we are. All right, these are all the pieces and everything. I created a 4x8 sketch plane. And then rather than sketching over all of these pieces, I drew a marquee around them to get them selected once the sketch was going. And I hit the P key, P as in Paul key, which projects everything that's selected onto the sketch plane. Okay. And then I just took that sketch and I saved it. And once I saved that sketch with a name with all those vectors on it, I'm able to export that sketch as a DXF into Aspire. And that's what I ended up doing. And in Aspire, here are those parts laid out. Now, if after I get all of these, you see these orange parts, they don't look like they line up, but they actually do, because I want them to cut oversized so that the entire pocket is cut. All right. Anyway, so there's a little manual file work done, but once I get to that point, I can group these parts. Let's say this this part, this part.
If you're showing us an
Center.
Aspire, we're not seeing it, Bill.
Oh, really?
We're still
Yeah,
looking
we're
at
sitting.
Fusion.
It's still in here on
Thank
Fusion.
you. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I was wondering what the orange sections were.
I'm like, I don't
I
see
was
the
taking your
pumpkin.
word for it.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got a color seeing issue, so
Right.
yeah, we'll leave it to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
No
So
pumpkins on my screen.
So this is the stuff that I imported in
Okay.
from that sketch. And I broke it up into layers. So the those are the profiles. Ooh, see, got one missing. I gotta correct that. Glad I looked. But these are the pockets that are being carved out for the depth, so that all this slots together. So having the two. And what I was saying was, see how these are overhanging?
How did you do that without actually making the other parts of it oversized, or did you do them each manually, or did it actually do it in the program, or where you've got your mouse now, like
Okay.
on just look at one of those pockets.
Yep.
Okay, so if you globally told it to expand it by a 16th or an eighth of an inch, for example,
You do that inside of the toolpath.
it would do that but how do you just tell it to do it on that part that's on the outer edge of the part? Did you do that in a particular way, or did you do it for everything?
Okay. I'll show you what I did. I'll actually do the commands here now. But this was originally this line here that you can see down there, right? The one that just got highlighted.
Yep.
That was originally aligned with the black line above it.
Yep.
When it first imported. Okay. What I did was I selected these and I hit N for node editing. Dragged around them, got those two in, and I'm going to change it, although I'll probably regret this later. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just, or however many you want. And that extended it out. Now when I use this vector for a toolpath. Let's see. Just a sec. So,
Select all of it.
pardon me?
Did that select all of it? You got that orange line still on the right side.
Nope. So I was still in the process of editing this. So when this came out, so
Yeah.
that one needs to be fixed. All right. I just picked the wrong pocket to show.
And don't save it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do another one. That one's all whole, for instance. Okay. I would do a pocket tool path for that one. Select my bit, how deep it's going to cut, etc. Whether I want it to raster out. And down here, where is it? Pocket allowance. Right over here where you see my mouse. That's where you enter the information.
I can't see your mouse.
Oh
Are you
yeah,
on
I
a
can
screen that we're
I
not
can see
seeing?
it.
Or?
I can see it.
Yeah, I
Okay,
can
now
see it also.
Oh, sorry, it's underneath the little mini pictures. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I moved. You can drag the picture. I just moved it out of the way so I could see it.
Yeah, just did it. Yeah.
Yeah. So under pocket allowance here, you enter a value. Probably 3,000 to do it. 0.003 of an inch. Or I don't know what that would be in millimeters, but it's small. If you enter a negative value, it makes the pocket
Smaller.
larger than it actually is. And if you enter a positive value, it makes it smaller. I don't know why that is.
What it is, it depends on whether the cut, whether you're doing inside or outside. So it'll vary with the plus, like with the plus or minus with what you're saying. But yeah, no, in the most programs that I use it in, it's called final pass or final cut allowance.
Yeah.
Those that are not looking for this in Aspire.
Yeah. So anyway, you can do that here. And if you have a question about how to use the command, you can go into the help file under the toolpath, and it will show you exactly what to put.
Actually, can I give you a little suggestion that if you zoom in, if you actually sort of like if you do a calculate toolpath now, have you assigned the tool and everything for it? Do you calculate, display the toolpath?
Yep.
Okay, if you zoom in now. You're doing a full pocket clip. But if you zoom in so you can actually see your vector and that you can see your toolpath. No, just to see the toolpath, not in preview. So you can't make it that
you want to see that.
Yeah. Now if you go, can you now go back to the previous screen so you can calculate and you do your plus minus allowance? No, the 2D view set it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now zoom in on that toolpath. Now zoom in in 2D. Can you do it in 2D from above? Top view? Just top view.
I'm not sure what you're asking for.
Okay. Now zoom in on that.
Right there. Yeah.
Change your allowance. Add 0.1 of an inch.
All right. There's a checkbox you have to press, which will turn it blue to show you where your toolpath is, and it will show it inside or outside. Is that what you're going for?
Yeah. No, not ins, but like what I do is just to confirm that it is going correctly, I'll do like say 0.1. Do 0.1 of an inch rather than 0.03. That way it's a significant step that you can. Okay, now do calculate. You got to.
Yeah. Let's go negative.
You can generally see once you see it. If you're doing a profile, you're doing an area clearance. But if you're doing a profile, you'll actually see the tool path. And then if you're like you do it at 0, then what you do, you go, I want to make it a bit smaller or want to make it a bit bigger. You can then do the plus or minus 0.1, and you can actually see tool move in or out. So that gives you a visual acknowledgement that what you're doing is correct, or
Yep,
that what you want.
there's also another visual tool, if I remember where it's at. When you click that, it will turn your tool paths, the area that's cut away, blue or magenta, so that you can actually see that, and you'll see the anyway, it can be seen, whether it is large or small.
Yeah, I've been looking for that feature I was looking for that feature the other day where you could see the actual path in like a solid.
Yeah. I'm gonna hit undo a couple times because
Yeah,
Um,
a whole bunch of
that's the
times.
problem with that's the problem with working in a live file and changing stuff.
does a spy have
You'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah, Ned's saying, "Yeah, change this, change that."
does a spire have like a grid that you can show, a grid or a dot or something like that?
Yes, it does.
That'll help more.
Hey, Bill, we thought you were dedicated, so staying up all night undoing this stuff is not a problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think we're fine with the actual file. But my but my point is from all of this, is there is a way to get stuff out of Fusion into our programs. It's not a straight path, it's not a quick way, but it can be done.
Have you
And
tried exporting or doing it as a PDF file, a vector PDF?
I've done that before. Yeah, I don't find it as useful
Yeah,
as DXF.
DXF
Yeah.
to me seems to work better in the programs I use. I've
Yeah.
tried PDFs. It only
Particular-
worked well when I used TorchMate stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Particularly
PDF
when the desire was to get, I'm gonna actually delete this toolpath I just made. uh so I don't have to worry about what was going on there. But the whole point of this thing is you can, when precision is required, you can get precision out and into this. Whereas if it really didn't matter if it fit tight or whatever, then you could just do some really simple stuff. But this was the problem, taking that full-on three-dimensional drawing that we had from Fusion, and because of the customers not wanting to use Fusion, with all the assembly joints and everything, that you can fully animate and all of that. How do you get useful data out of Fusion? And this is one way. Anyway, what I'll do is I'll throw some links to the YouTube videos and show you step by step how you can do this, because I'm afraid the explanation got a little derailed for most people to follow.
Has anyone tried using Onshape? I've messed around with Onshape. It's like an online 3D program.
I did a few years ago, but not recently. I gotta go. Anyway, see you guys later.
See you later,
Have a
Mike.
good one,
Take
Mike.
care. See you next week.
This comes back to what we were discussing probably 3 or 4 sessions ago about having everything combined, like having your like your CNC or your G code generated everything from within the design program. It makes you get a little bit lazy and forgetful as to how to do things when you need to. I've never used the same NC software as the design software, so I'm always exporting out, and particularly when you're doing 3D stuff. I forgot who it was. Someone actually showed me a great little feature in ArtCam when it comes to 3D models, which also supports the contours and everything of the lines. Being able to apply contours or areas where you work. I've always been doing it in the CAD program, exporting it as a DXF, then bringing it into ArtCam, etc. and working with it in there. And you'll learn to work with vectors. It's an important thing to do. And if someone does start charging you for for generating the G code, for doing particular things like Fusion through, I'm having a real forgetful morning this morning,
Yeah.
like Fusion 360 does, it's always nice to have another option that you can do these things with.
Mhm.
But where you started, I was hoping there was a way that the software said if it was on the outer edge or something like that, extended another 1/4 of an inch or something like that, so your tool path can go right out, so you've got a clean pocket. But yeah, no,
Well,
I do
there
I
is
do
Yeah.
as well.
See,
What button did you click?
this down at the bottom of the screen is the solid button. And if we edit this toolpath, you can see right now everything's inside the pocket on this one that's in the center of the screen. Okay, on that one, everything's inside of the pocket. If
Except
we
for the
change
dog
that,
ears.
that's because the bit is too large to go in
Yep, yep.
there. Let's make it a bigger value. If you notice where the blue is in relationship to the edge, let's see. It's going to give us an error because we said go in the positive direction, but let's go negative. And now it's cutting oversize.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, which is what you would want to make the pocket fit, because if your material is 3/4 of an inch exactly, and you cut it exactly 3/4 of an inch, you'd have to put it together with a hammer.
Sledgehammer.
Yeah, a sledgehammer, and it wouldn't work.
Always
So you
have a
have to have
bigger hammer.
Yeah.
you have to have tolerance for the glue and for the fit. And so, 3 to 6 thousandths, somewhere in that range, will probably get you through most things. Let me also show you what happened.
So you could do the same thing with like just a general outline cut, profile cut. You can
Yeah,
make
this is what it looks like as it's cutting around
yeah.
the bit. And if you edit this one, the profile is exact right now, but if you give it an allowance of negative 0.05, let's say, let's here, calculate.
Now it's going inside it a little bit.
Yeah,
It's undercutting it.
Yeah. So it really depends on which one you choose, what you're trying to accomplish. So you can do it, from that one spot, with leaving your model as it is and coming in and fixing it at the machine. That's what when you're creating the toolpath, that's what that's for.
Yep. Yeah, eCabinets does pretty much the same thing. When you set up a dado and eCabinets, you set up a fit tolerance and a depth tolerance, and it doesn't show it in the drawings. You can't, take your tape measure or ruler or whatever and measure and see that 3 thousandths or 5 thousandths or whatever it is you added. It doesn't show up. But when it cuts it on the machine, it knows what to do.
So when I was trying to show it to Ned earlier, the gallery view, which had all your pictures, was down covering it. I'm saying, yeah, there's a checkbox, and I couldn't find it because it was hidden behind your pictures. So there you go. But yeah, that's anyway. I didn't know of anybody who was finding an easier way of doing it without paying the extra money to download the manufacturing package, which unlocks several different things that I don't really generally need.
There is another aspect to the nesting that do you use bridges with your when you do cuts, or do you just let them, hopefully the vacuum holds them down, sort of thing?
Tabs?
Yeah. Tabs
I use tabs, or if I have a vacuum system, some of the work I do is for other people. If they have a vacuum table, I don't generally bother with tabs. I like onion skin. myself, but that's another story.
Onion skin? Like, I don't know the term.
That's where you leave a few thousandths of material from the bottom of the
From the
pockets so that it never actually cuts all the way through, but thin enough that you can just break it loose. That way you don't lose vacuum as you cut. Yeah.
I've used onion skins in the past, but not intentionally. I didn't want it to turn out that way, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
How do you go with the onion skin when you have one of the problems when you're working with plywoods and so on? Generally, it's not a big issue because plywood's generally covered with stuff and so on. It's not the finished surface. But if you're working with hardwoods and you want to finish surface, one of the problems if you were to use onion skin is if you lifted, like if you imagine a large 6 by 12 sheet. I'm trying to convert.
Yeah.
12 sheet.
Just use your numbers. We'll figure it out.
So 12, yeah. Anyway, so if you're using a full sheet and it's full of parts, and as soon as you go to lift that sheet off, your parts fall through or they break out and things like that, and you'll end up with tearing and chipping and stuff like that on one of the surfaces. How do you avoid that when you break your parts off, or this is just purely you use that with plywoods and so on?
Me?
Yeah.
Or just everybody? Yeah.
Just as a, I was just more so looking at when you apply the onion skin, how do you work around the damaging of the other surface if things fall apart or like as you're lifting it, sort of thing? You go around.
I did something similar to what Bill did, but it was weird the way I had to do it. But I would cut the part down, and then the very outer edge, I'd make one last circle, and I'd break through on the edge, and then the part would just stay. I wouldn't pocket the whole thing, and so the onion skin, if that's what you call it, would still be stuck to the vacuum table. So I'd lose a little vacuum on the width of the tool, which in my case was very small. But and when I lifted up the part, it was cut clear through. So that's how I did it.
That's genius. I hadn't thought of that. So you just offset the bit.
Yeah, like I basically do two tool pets. I'd cut the thing out, and then at the last part, I just did one extra tool pet around the outside. Yeah, just zip, and then the plug would just be there.
Yeah, that's genius. No, it usually wasn't an issue for me because I wasn't cutting small parts. But I can imagine if you were cutting like parts to make dollhouses.
Well, one of the parts that I programmed for them. Are you guys familiar with like food grain stainless lines and refrigerated lines? Like pipes, refrigerated stainless steel tube, etc., for running coolant and stuff like that around factories. Okay, well, you've got a 2-inch, or say a 2-inch. There's all different, obviously, sizes, but you've got a 2-inch pipe, and what they do is they put foam around it. But for the end caps, they've got plywood end caps which actually go into a mount. So you've got 2 half moons that go around the pipe, and you've got the diameter of the pipe in the center. So that will go inside a saddle that holds the pipe suspended. And what they do is they foam in between it, and they then have like a PVC or a whatever skin around it to stop condensation and so on. And that's how the pipes are suspended. So what we were doing was we were cutting. Imagine basically a washer, which was probably around about say 6-inch, say 4 or 5 inches in diameter, and then a 2-inch hole in the center. But that was split into a moon, so it's 2 halves. And the whole sheet would be full of these nested, if you think of it like that way, sort of parts. So it was going like that. And one full-size sheet might have 100 of those, 100, maybe 150 of those pieces nested on a one sheet. So if you didn't have the bridges or an onion skin, and the cutter was going around, it'd basically push them into each other. And if you lifted it, they'd get damaged on the bottom side, etc. So yeah, the small parts, yeah, they could be anything really, yeah, but yeah, not necessarily dollhouse.
I do more tabs than I do onion skin, and it's just a special need thing. But a lot of guys who are doing cabinet work will do onion skin. Um, at least that's been my experience.
No.
Because if you screw up a set of cabinets, that's a lot of money in cabinet grade plywood.
Yeah.
Just because the part slipped and moved.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
and
we even go as far as putting a few screws down into the we'll run vacuum, but we'll also put 3 or 4 screws into the MDF below it, just to stop it from sliding. And they're not really there to hold it down, but they're just more so there to stop the plywood from moving if you're doing aggressive cuts.
the hardest part of any CNC machining, with the exception maybe laser cutting, is how to prevent the part from moving while it's being made.
I'm going to blatantly disagree with you, Bill. It's getting your wife to say yes to buying the CNC machine. Come on, I don't want to call you out, but I mean, let's
Yeah.
be real here.
Yeah, yeah.
Mike,
Maria treats you very well. You should go
I
and buy
think
her something, flowers or bling, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, with experience, I think you're the problem in this equation. What are you doing telling your wife what you're buying?
Oh yeah. Well, you've seen that little meme, right? My biggest fear is that my wife will sell my tools for the price I told her I paid for them, So Bill, delete this recording.
Sorry, it's live.
Yeah. Hey, Bill, you know that aluminium sheet we were talking about that I purchased
For
earlier on?
$3,000, yeah.
Well,
No,
my wife still
no.
doesn't know about that one.
No, it wasn't 3,000. I was just making that up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
What's that term they use in your politics? Best to beg for forgiveness than to ask in the first place.
Yeah, right. Something like that. Beg for forgiveness and ask
Yeah.
permission, right?
Yeah. It's easier to beg forgiveness than it is to ask for permission or to get permission. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah. Yeah. Anyway, well, I hope I didn't put too many edits into that file now. What about this?
Yeah, can we go back to that file, Bill? I got a couple of things I want you to try.
Yeah. Oh well.
In fact, just give me control of the mouse. I'll do what I got to do.
Yeah. Uh-huh. It's all Mike's fault. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
One of the other thing, what I was going to say is with all of I must say that with most of the with the code generating software or the CNC software that I've seen, they all look like they've come from 1 or 2 different engines. They all seem to have the same features, just how they're presented and what they're named. So there must be just 1 or 2 CNC modules out there that everyone is developing their software off, because they all seem to have the same thing in them. They all seem to have the same layouts. Yeah.
Okay.
Guys have been noticing like similarities or consistencies between the various programs, just different naming and different places to find the bits in.
There's always slight differences, and I don't know. The problem I have with having experience with so many different CAD packages is trying to remember which program did it which way and what it was called in the new one, and then not expecting. Let's call out 2 of them. Not expecting Fusion to work like Aspire, or not expecting Aspire to work like Fusion. They both do it totally different because they had different programmers, but they all have many of the same features. But you can't compare Aspire to Fusion 360. I mean, you can, but what's the point? They're designed for two different purposes.
Yeah.
Aspire will let you do stuff like the chest and Scott's background there, with relief carvings and things like that. Whereas Fusion allows you to create the 3D model of the chest itself that you're going to put all that decoration on and everything. And um, it's different. It's a different purpose. If I were trying to design the beehive in Fusion, or excuse me, in Aspire, it would be harder for me to do it and know that things fit because of the way you draw things in it. Okay. Because Aspire is not a full-blown CAD package.
No.
It is creeping that way, but it is not yet a full-blown CAD package. And so there's very few ways to constrain anything. By that I mean to force it into submission. This is going to be a 1/4-inch hole that's concentric with the other half-inch hole, and other things. You've got some of that in Aspire, but not like you have in SolidWorks or Fusion 360 or
Bobcat, same thing.
Bobcat. Yeah, because it's a different software. But Fusion sucks when it comes to making that nice organic looking sculpted relief carving. Okay. You can do it, but you got to be Da Vinci to pull it off. And that's just my opinion. Now I'm gonna say that these are my opinions and my opinions only. Yeah. I use both packages. I like both packages. I hate both packages for different reasons at different times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get that. I do most of my work in Bobcat, as you know, Bill, no matter what I'm doing. But occasionally I'll use SketchUp if I'm going to do a 3D model.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to bang out a 3D model in SketchUp. But if I want like a detailed feature, I'll draw it in Bobcat, export it as a DXF, and import it into SketchUp and do it that way.
Yeah.
Actually, I've got to download SketchUp again. I haven't used SketchUp for over 8 or 9 years, and I believe it's come a long way from what I'm hearing from you guys and others. Another go. So yeah, I used to use it before, but it was very basic when I was using it. But it sounds like it's grown to be a very good package, and it's supposed to be free, isn't it?
No, it used to be free.
Yeah,
They have
that's right.
SketchUp Make now. It's called Make.
Okay.
It's not for commercial use though. And I tell everybody, well, I'm not making a commercial. I'm making a cabinet.
Yeah.
I use it a lot. I use it, like just getting my head around how things have got to be done, and then like
I got
you said,
something. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off my phone. I thought
that's
you
fine.
were. Go ahead, continue. Sorry.
I was just saying that I use it to get my head around how things need to be done in the other programs that I work with, and make sure everything's going to fit, and then I just take the dimensions and what have you, and either explode it out and flatten it out or whatever, and export it as a DXF file right into whatever I'm going to be cutting it on, whether it be VCarve or what, and it seems to work pretty good. I mean, it's like you said, it's quick and easy and cut and dry.
There's another package that is that I used to use years ago that was like poo poo. It got it just wasn't complete enough. But they have been adding modules to it. If you haven't looked at Sheet Cam in a while, you should.
Yeah, I've looked at Sheet Cam. I thought they had a bunch of good features, but I don't know. I mean, a lot of people love it. I'm just not one of those people. I like the features. So what I did was I used to do stuff in SheetCam, export it, look at the G code, and then modify my post processor so it would mimic what SheetCam was doing. And I'd stick with my program.
Well, see, I got drawn off on a wild tangent there last week there, Mike, and you almost got dragged with me, except you kept pulling back from the edge when you said, I don't need another hobby. I don't need another project.
Yeah.
There's a guy, Tamar Bar, who's been on the Centroid Acorn site showing his development of a um, fiber laser mount to replace the spindle on his CNC router table. And then he went from router table to plasma cutter, then from plasma cutter to this fiber laser. Anyway, he made a tube cutter on the side. It's a rotary tube cutter where he takes a 12-foot piece of steel and it's pushing it in and out, and it's cutting through this steel, and it's amazing to watch. And I'm like, well, how'd you do that? And he's using SheetCam. SheetCam has a rotary plasma add-on for, I think it's 30 or 60 bucks. I can't remember what it is. That allows him to
I got witnesses now, Bill. I got Scott and Ned, that if I start that project and Maria asks me who gave me that idea, it's going to be
Ned.
Bill Greg.
It was Ned. Ned did it.
We have a recording, Bill.
Ned's
that
in
you can
Australia.
use against
he
me,
can
but
never be, it would be really hard for her to track him down.
Yeah,
So,
well,
yeah.
there you go.
Okay, all right. Yeah, there we go. Ned, why did you do that?
Because I was just so kind and considerate. That's all I can say.
Yeah. But when
like the with the SketchUp, is that online only, or does it have a program?
No, well, I was trying to see. I don't know if this is going to work, because normally I do this on my computer, but I'm going to try to.
you need to share screen?
I wanted to share something, but yeah, Bill says.
Go ahead.
Bill
I just turned it on.
Share.
I just turned it on.
Okay. Photos. Let's see if this will work. Hold on. Let me see if I can get to this. Give me a second to try to pull this up. I have no idea if this is going to work, Bill, but
Mike has more tools per square inch in that one
that
workshop than anybody else.
Hold on. It's got to be.
Did it not take it?
Yeah. It's. I can get in. I just got to find the thing here. Options. If I was on my computer, I could show you.
One of the things that everyone here should keep in mind with using tools that are online, and this is sort of like becoming more of a reality and a problem, is once upon a time, if you downloaded CAD software and you did all this design work in the CAD software, and a new version comes out and you don't choose to upgrade, etc., to the new version, you've still got the old version.
The old version.
Use and you can do everything in. The way that Microsoft is now heading, and a lot of companies are subscribing to it, is they're literally turning into an iPhone, or and Samsung Android is not far behind it. That once you don't subscribe to the software anymore, you can't you don't have the option. Microsoft will actually force an uninstall on your machine. And if you store your artwork on the cloud and that, you can contact them and they'll give you a zip file that you can download all your stuff, and they can say, see you later. But you've got no means of actually continuing to edit your work or to open or access your work that you have done. That's something a lot of people should be aware of with subscription-based software, with things like Fusion 360 or SketchUp and so on. That if you stop,
I hate I hate subscription-based software. All the stuff I have, I do have current version of SketchUp, but I use SketchUp 2016 because it's an app I can install. I own it, and they can't do whatever, you know. I
Yeah.
also can't get upgrades and patches, but I was trying to show you something, but I can't really do it on my phone. But next time I'll make sure I'm on my computer, and I will show you the SketchUp thing.
Yeah, I
Well,
use SketchUp 8. I've been using it since for since 2011 at least. And I just haven't. I've never. I get add-ins or plug-ins they call them,
Yeah.
and stuff that really helps out a lot instead of just upgrading and paying the. I would like to get SketchUp Pro because they had the dynamic component features and stuff that would be useful, but it's just not worth paying the $700 or whatever it costs for SketchUp Pro. You know, I already have VCarve, so I just use
Yeah.
SketchUp as a like a napkin sketch type thing.
Mm.
Well, I'm looking for a new free 3D software that's easy for a beginner to start using. Someone that doesn't know jack shit about computers. Like there was a lady that I set up just over the weekend with a 3D printer, and hell, that I was actually quite surprised that they knew how to start the print off the actual memory stick. That came
I
with.
got just the thing for you, Ned.
Yep. Sketchograph.
Yeah.
Etch a
It's an
sketch.
etch a sketch. Yeah.
Sorry, where's Sketch or Sketchographs are just a competing knockoff product? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, just more so that they can design stuff in it and so on so they can send it to the 3D printer, something to get them started on. So that's why when you mentioned SketchUp, I thought, oh yeah, that might be a good program. Like, you know, for them it'll be at least it'll get them started in the designing if it's fairly simple enough sort of thing. So yeah.
there's a few 3D packages. Some have good functionality, some have great functionality, some suck. In no particular order. Uh, uh, I've heard a lot of things about plasticity, which is a new one. I've
Yeah,
heard
that's
some things.
yeah, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's
I'm
one.
jotting as you speak. I'm jotting as you.
Oh, okay. There's FreeCAD, which some people swear by. Ooh, yeah, now that I'm thinking about them, there's several others, but if you give me a minute, I'll think of several other free 3D packages that are out there. Most
You're
of
having
them are limited.
you're having the same problem as me. Like I'm checking out CAD programs every day of the week, but if you ask me right now, I can't remember one of them.
Yeah. There's
I don't know.
Onshape, Solid Edge, Solid Works, Solid Surface, on and on and on. Some of them you pay for, others are, not many things are free anymore.
They say they are till you read the fine print, till you want to do something with them. Oh, well, you got to pay for that.
Free is probably the wrong word, but not in the many hundreds or many whatever thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Just something that a newbie can get into. I think Fusion 360 will be way over the top for them. They want to do more artsy stuff and and also have the option of making little brackets and so on, but they need to be able to probably work in 2D and do simple extrusions or something like that.
Let me see if this one is still available.
One thing they need to be aware of, though, when it comes to 3D printing, even though you can export 3D models in SketchUp as STL files, all the arcs and curves and stuff like that are line segments, and it might come out jagged because you can't smooth them like you can in Aspire. You can't go in and use a smooth tool and get it all nice and smooth.
Here is a program that had potential back when I was using Rhino 3D. Well, let me think. See, okay, it's not free, but it's not expensive either. Let's share the screen. Go back to the page I was on. There we go. The guy who developed Rhino came out with another piece of software because he sold Rhino 3D to uh, I don't know, some larger company. But he came out,
Neil?
yeah, McNeil was the developer. Anyway, this program, Moment of Inspiration, was designed by the guy who did Rhino 3D. And it's got an easier interface and things like that. Now, I don't know if it does anything related to CAM yet, but I think it was all CAD. But
Doesn't it doesn't need to do cam like, and this is what I urge you guys to stop focusing on. Nice to have a program that can do like some CAD work and the cam, but I believe the cam software and the features of the cam software should be um, program dependent, and you need to be able to separate from the two, because if you combine the two and you rely on the two, one, if it changes and goes into a massive pay model, that's going to hurt you, and like what Fusion 360 is doing. So if you can get benefits of a basic CAM program, like for example with 3D printing, all you need to do is export an STL and it does the slicing and everything for you, like through the Creality software or etc. So I don't think that should be a priority. It should be something, if you like, that you look for, but I think people should learn how to use independent programs, and then they will learn things like what you were showing earlier on, Bill, with
mhm.
getting comfortable with exporting to DXF, etc., and not being dependent on someone spoon feeding you for everything that you need to do.
Right. Yeah. It's like the whole reason for trying to find out the DXF stuff is because Fusion will export stuff, but it exports 3D models. And if you're trying to do something that's, 2D or
Out of the box.
yeah, there's a lot too much work. And this was just a workaround to force it to do what you wanted. It's not, it's like I've got it in a half Nelson saying, "Come on, give me the files, give me the files." That's kind of what's going on with it. It's really not designed to do what I was forcing it to do. Yeah. But I agree with you about the usefulness of the CAD. Um, there are so many ways to use it, particularly if you're just 3D printing or laser cutting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing, if you're not dependent on a program, as you said earlier, there's many programs out there that have very similar things, but every program is different from another program that does the same thing. And there may be features in it, in how it works with vectors, or how it scales things, or how it does its planes and so on, or how you interact and work with a model, that work better and so on. And one of the, like for example, for me with Rhino 3D,
Hmm.
it has a, although it's a really good and capable modeler, it's nothing like what plasticity, or I'm just trying to think of, I've got a mental blank. The other Blender, it's nothing like Blender when it comes to cutting and separating pieces out. If you want something out of another model, or to blend, move, bend, etc. Blender and ZBrush are far better at working with STL models than what Rhino is.
Yeah.
So you need to learn how to export your model, be it 2D or 3D, whatever features you need, and take it to another package. Do that little thing you want, because it's going to be 10 times faster than what you'll do it in the current package that you're using, and then move it back and continue working with it in your package once you've done what you need to do it.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Um, and you have to know what it's capable of doing. Like when I'm done editing those pockets in that example I gave earlier, I'm going to group each one of those components like with its pocket, and then I'm going to grab those, and then I'm going to re-nest them, optimize nest.
Yep.
Yeah, but I wanted to make the edits to the pockets so that they cut right to begin with before I started grouping anything.
Yeah.
And it's just it's actually kind of being kind of overly perfectionist on the file. I just know that if you just selected the pocket and you say cut a pocket out, um, you're going to have to get in there with a chisel to clean up the edges, so that the parts can slide in or something. And I don't want to do that. And I also know, Scott, when you were saying it's doing everything but the dog ears, that's because I'm drilling all my dog ears.
Hmm.
Uh, so
That makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, but I've found it's faster to drill those dog ears than it is to have it follow the profile around on them, and nobody's
Well,
going to see them anyway.
yeah, no,
Go
well,
ahead.
a lot of those CNC drill bits, they drill much faster. If you get a proper wood bit, it just rips through wood like it's literally a quick peck and it's done. It evacuates the material. It's much faster than, as you were saying, trying to do it with an end mill sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So there, you know, you were on point on every question that you had, Ned, and every area that you were going in. I was like, oh man, I, I just want to get to that because that comes up later.
Sorry for stealing your punchline.
Yeah. But yeah, it's knowing from doing lots of projects what you got to take care of right off the bat, and thinking about it before you get too far into it. Make sure you set it up so that you have success. um a lot of times when I'm not drilling dog ears, and by the way, the dog ear is the little circle on the end of the um, rectangle that allows a square piece to fit that was cut by a round bit, which would have an arc. So the dog ear just removes the material. Anyway, for those who don't know that, but a lot of times instead of cutting a dog ear that just fits, 20 quarter-inch bit, I'll go up to zero 0.3 instead of 0.25. Now the quarter-inch bit has enough clearance to go in there and not be fully engaged as it goes around, and it cuts a bigger than normal dog ear, but it doesn't stop and slow down at the corner as it's cutting.
Good point.
Anyway, it's just a lot of toy
I,
things.
I, I was able to, Bill, hold on a second. I didn't have this set up on my computer, but I'm gonna show it to you now. You were asking about SketchUp. I'll just do a quick run through. This is something I'm doing now that I did in SketchUp, and it's all to scale because I had to make sure all these things would fit. Now, this was an old version of SketchUp, and you see any of the detail stuff like the gears and stuff like that. I did that in Bobcat and exported it as a DXF. So I just sucked it right in because trying to draw that in SketchUp would have been a nightmare. But all the other stuff is whatever. In fact, all the objects like the blast cabinet, the 3D printer, the laser, I downloaded them from the SketchUp warehouse. So
Can you tell us what you were building? You tell us what you were building there. It looks like it's a nice little stowaway cabinet.
Yeah.
I'm in the process of doing some of
what
these
I'm
for myself.
building. Yeah, what I'm building is a. I had and I'm not. This is not SketchUp because I don't have SketchUp on this computer. Let me bring it around. Let me get to this side. So there it is. So I had a big blast cabinet in my old shop, and I can show you that here. I mean, this I also did in SketchUp. This is when I was laying out my shop. I had a giant.
Sorry, it seems like you have a lot of time on your hands.
Well, no. See, before I moved into this shop, this house, the house was being built, so I had 4 months where my shop was apart, and I had to design the new shop. So I did it in SketchUp. But I had this giant blast cabinet. I used to have really big equipment, and when I moved, I downsized everything except the blast cabinet. But then recently, I bought a smaller blast cabinet, and I was going to put it on a stand, simple stand. And that's why I told Bill, don't get me started on another project. But then I'm like, well, now that I have a new stand, I can fit some other equipment. So I decided to put oh, can you see that now? It looks like it's not
Yeah, we can see
updated
it.
on the screen.
Yeah.
We can see it.
Hold on. Okay. But is it moving? Oh, yeah, there it goes. Okay.
No, it's not.
Yeah, now it is. So I've got a blast a bamboo 3D printer here. I put the blast
It's
cabinet
actually-
on top.
It's actually not moving for us.
Okay, I'm going to move it now, but I wanted it to catch up.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yep.
Okay, so I have this like 4-link shelf that swings up with the 3D printer on it, right? And then you can see that in the drawing. This pops up, and the other drawer just slides out. That's for a Glowforge laser. Because as Bill said, I have no room. He knows everything is down to the inch. So if I want to put anything else, go ahead, Nick. I'll pause it.
Your bamboo printer. Look, it's a very elaborate, very interesting looking bench that you're making. And I was just wondering, I thought, and that was what sort of like triggered me was the bamboo printer. Like when you pull the drawer out, then you put the printer on it, or is this a multi-purpose trolley? Or...
No. The drawer. I'm just showing in the picture, like the standalone. This is how it looks configured. The printer is always there. The filament dryer is always there. The blast cabinet is always there. The laser is always there. And all the supplies and any support equipment is also in a 3x3 by 5'6" space.
Yep.
So, and everything just kind of pops up.
So when that drawer goes in, the printer is still on it. Does the drawer sort of like drop down or?
No, I'll show you. You'll see. For this, I have dust covers on it because I'm in a metal and wood shop. There's a lot of dust. So I've got flame retardant covers that I sewed. And I've got these welding screen, covering up all the equipment so that the dust doesn't get inside, because dust is a big problem, grit and grime. So then basically you just open the doors, the bamboo printer pops up, you pull the cover off, and you can use it. When you're done, you swing it back down. If you want to use the laser, you spin it around, and then the laser comes out, and it stays connected to the personal filter, which is underneath, and all the supplies are on the shelf underneath that. And so you can use it. You can also use the blast cap. So it's all this junk in a small space, really small space.
But could I have a look at your mechanism for the bamboo printer? How you get it to go so low? Like when
I'll show you. You see it's a 4-link suspension like on a race car.
Yep.
So if you see it, how it swings up. And in fact, I'm gonna stop sharing this screen for a second. Share. Do I stop sharing? Stop sharing. Stop share. Okay, there we go. Now hold on a second. I'm gonna do this. Now you can see it.
Nice. Yep.
Okay,
Ta-da.
so you
Hang
see,
on, Mike.
here's the.
Hang on. I'm going to change the view so that they can see you
Oh, okay.
only. Yeah. Go ahead.
So there's the blast cabinet on the stand in my really tight shop. And the whole thing's not complete yet, but I've got this part where these kind of swing up, you see? And here, the 2 sides, and then the back, you can see that one. And then the shelf is down here. And once I weld these pieces to the bearings that are going to go up here, the whole shelf will just swing up. And then there's the gears with the welding that'll be, covering the front. And then the wheels are here. It's a really, really tight fit, as you can see in there. There's no room for anything. But the whole thing pulls out, spins around, and then you've got the Glowforge laser on the other side and everything you need to I'm about 80% complete with the fabrication to get it to the point
I
where
like
it's
it. I'd like to see more on that as you get it finished. That looks really, really cool.
yeah. And then you see what's cool here is that because, like I said, you can see this shop. I got a grinder literally right next to this, so the curtains hang down the sides here. I had them on already. I took them down so I could weld. And then this is some flame retardant material with rare earth magnets sewn into the seam. So when you put it down, it sticks to the steel shelf. So when I'm blowing all the dust off, sorry, my hand is in the way. When I'm blowing all the dust off, it doesn't flutter. It just stays stuck to the shelf.
I like it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to share the details with you. It's no problem. And then the hardest part, because I suck at geometry, I don't know if you can see this, but was getting all that 4-link suspension kind of set up right. So I'm like, how am I going to measure all this? How am I going to, put it all in place? Then I realized I got all the geometry. So I just needed the reference points, the distances from the holes, for the 2 different shaft lengths. So I basically, when I put this together, I made this on my plasma cutter. I put it on the shafts, and then everything was in exactly the right position, and I just tack welded it.
Look, I love the gears and that you've put on the side. You know what I mean? Like it, it
Yeah,
looks.
see, I use that. I'm like Gaston. I use gears in all of my decorating. This is. I'll give
Okay.
you a quick peek of this. Hold on 1 second. Alexa, turn on compressor.
Oh, now you've ruined it.
All right, okay. So these things come. This is when I'm grinding. I keep the curtain up, grinding or welding, so it keeps everything kind of clean. I've got Alexa, table up. This is my grinding table, grinding and fabrication table. It's really small, so I have to.
I love it.
And then I've got a magnet chuck from a surface grinder, and then I've got these switches here, so I can.
Formerly known as the easy button.
Yeah, I can turn this on, and then here, let me get something that's flat. When I put the metal down on, that's it. If I can grind it, it won't move.
Magnetic
And then I can
chuck,
just turn it off. That's it. Now I can. So,
Yeah,
like Bill said, I
these
got a lot of
curtains,
equipment.
the curtains are my favorite part. Mike, retract your curtains and show it to us.
Yeah, okay, or I'll do it this way.
You got to
I'll
point
cheat.
it up.
Alexa, welding time is over. All right. So, all right, so how do I end this now? I'm not sure how to stop sharing this. So.
Well, don't stop sharing. Turn around and show them the router.
Okay, all right.
Because it's
Okay.
a router. Show.
All right. So let me close the doors for a second because
Oh, you got
okay.
the
So I'm
compressor on too.
in the HOA. On the other side of that door is my neighbors right across the street. I don't have a lot of property, so when I'm making noise, my neighbors hear it. So what I've done is I built a soundproof room using some technology that NASA created that converts sound into heat. So this whole room is soundproof. The walls are really thick, and I've got my these doors are heavy. So I've got my router. This started life as a Velox router, but if you look at it now, it's set up as a plasma cutter. So it's got 2 Z-axis, right? One that's motorized and one that's pneumatic. I can probably show you here. Hold on a second. So I can plasma cut and engrave. Let me put this on. Then I added a dual chamber water table. So I add air to the bottom tank and it pushes the water up to the top tank. So I can fill the plasma table with water in, 15 seconds.
Okay.
And then when I want it to be a router again, I've got a vacuum table underneath on a hydraulic hoist because I've got a bad back. I've got my router and a laser, right? So I can engrave and route. And then the vacuum table just jacks up and slides right over the dual chamber water table. And now I've got a 3-axis router with a vacuum table. When I want to do 4-axis, I've got a 4th axis on a self-centering slide. So when I crank the handle, these separate and come back, and they're always lined up. And this just, the stuff in the water table comes out, and then that goes in and gets bolted down. Now I can do 4-axis routing.
Tell them about the head, how that comes. Off.
This whole thing is all quick disconnect. So there's a couple of cables that come apart, right? All the wires come off. So it's got a magnet that sticks on, and this whole head, like this one, just lifts right up. So let me just flip this a second so you can see it. So you see it's got fixture locating pins and 4 screws. So that's all you got to do. You take out the 4 screws. I've got a hoist up there again because I got a bad back. I bring the table all the way out. I hook the hoist up to it. I've got a ring on both of them that I can just grab it, take out 4 screws, pull the head off, put it down, put the next head on, and plug everything back in and start going. I'm routing the plasma in probably 35 minutes, maybe. I feel like I'm hijacking, Bill. I just wanted to show him SketchUp.
This is what we wanted.
But the level of kinematronics you have there in your workshop is insane. Like, I love it.
You see, like this room, I'm going to show you some crazy shit. Well, you can see now I'm on the meeting in here.
Oh, you haven't shown me any yet? Please go on.
When I run my machine, I actually run my machine on VMware, right? So this is a virtual machine. It's running Windows 7 because I'm running Windows 10 here, right? So I boot up Windows 7 under a virtual machine, and then I can run Mach 3 and whatever I want, and I can sit here connected to the internet, all the things you can't do with Mach 3. You can't have internet access, you can't have this, you can't have that, you can't have the other thing. I can do it all and still be active on my desktop here. And I'll go in here. You see there's another monitor. Alexa, turn on plasma. So it actually mirrors when I'm in the soundproof room. You'll see in a second, it mirrors that monitor. So when I'm in here, I can see what's going on, and I've got a keyboard up there, a little magnetic keyboard, so I can operate the machine. And you hear me talking to Alexa all the time. I've got all these TP-Link devices. There's 50 of them in my garage, connected to everything, including my compressor. The 7.5 horsepower compressor is connected through a magnetic starter. The vacuum table is connected through a magnetic starter. The plasma cutter, turn that on for plasma cutter. Alexa, turn on fume extractor. It turns on my fume extractor, which is here, but I've also got the same fume extractor here. Alexa, turn on fume diverter. So now it diverts the fume extractor from out there to in here. So when the room is closed, it won't fill up with smoke. And these are just little cheap little Taiwanese. Well, the one in the attic is big, but these are manual valves that I converted to automatic with an Alexa device. I can say, here, Alexa, turn on grinder. or I can go, Alexa, turn on garage grinder. Alexa, turn on machine shop vac. So it turns on the vacuum, which is over there, and then it flips all the valves to route the vacuum from over there. You can see all the Alexa devices to over here. Alexa, turn off garage everything. Okay. Alexa, turn on garage lights so I can see.
Okay.
So that's the 10-second tour.
He's got an AI shop.
Yeah.
Well, I have a strange background. I have started out as a machinist, went to be an auto mechanic, taught myself programming, got into programming robotics, got into robotics and automation, and then what you see here.
Mike,
What you,
be
yeah.
careful. Mike, be careful. Skynet is coming to kidnap you.
Ah.
Come
So
with me if you want to live.
the interesting part is, Alexa, turn on plasma. I'll show you this. The interesting part is, I've got a lot of big, heavy equipment that runs a lot of hours. So what I did, this is how I met Bill. I wrote an extension to Mach 3, a screen set and an extension. That's my Mach 3 screen set. And then
My
I wrote
screens
an
for Mach 3, shameless plug.
Yeah. And so basically then from Mach 3 through G code or through the UI, I can control a specific set of devices. I can turn on my compressor, turn on my vacuum table, turn on my plasma, turn on my whatever here. Like I'll do a fume extractor, turn that on, turn on the fume diverter. I can turn on my compressor. Again, all of these things I can turn them on or turn them off. I'll just do all off. But I can do that also from G code. So my Mach 3 machine turns on the equipment only when it's needed, and when it's done with it, it turns it off.
So this is one of the reasons I was happy to have Mike with me on my trip to see SpaceX, because the conversation was off the hook.
Okay, so
entire
I got to
time.
figure out how to get out of this, Bill, from my phone, since I never do it. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back into Zoom. You know what? I'll just close the app, I think. Yeah, here we go.
One of the things that Mike is doing there with his Windows 7, there's a feature in, not a part of Windows 7, but it's a third-party thing. It's called RDP, or Remote Desktop Hack. Now, when you apply that remote desktop hack to a Windows 7 machine, it actually turns it into a full-blown terminal server. And what that means is that you can run independent sessions. So you can have one person using the computer, and you can have multiple sessions running on that computer using things like these little thin clients. They're like just little tiny PCs. You pick them up very, very cheap. All they do is share a screen. And effectively, like what Michael was saying, you could run your Mach 3 and so on. I'm having clumsy morning with names of programs, but you can run your Mach 3 independently on something like this and control it and operate it and stuff like that without having high power consumption, multiple PCs around the workshop in the house and so on. So yeah, no, that actually just reminded me about that. I actually use this. I do the same thing with it. It's just as a multi-PC thing, but from one main PC.
What is that thing you had in your hand?
It's called a thin client. I'll just turn my blur off.
Okay.
Yeah, just for the record, Ned, we like your shop.
Yeah. This is actually in the house. This isn't my garage. This is just like the artsy stuff. This is in like we call it a Queenslander, or a sunroom made out of cool room panels attached to the back of the house, sort of thing. And it sort of makes me a part of the house, but without being in the house. So that way I stay alive another day, sort of thing.
Yeah. I think I need one of those. Yeah.
But
You
yeah,
were explaining thin client. Sorry.
yeah. So basically, that's a thin client. It's got a few USB ports. It's got an Ethernet port on it, and all you really need to do is hook up a keyboard and a monitor to it. And then you need something like a Windows PC. Now you can do it off your existing Windows 10 or Windows 11 PC by enabling the remote desktop on it. And you can then use that PC anywhere on one of these units, and you can get wireless ones so you can move it around easily. But yeah, these are really inexpensive, and you can find them all over the place. They work really well.
Hmm.
They're called thin clients,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
and that will
interesting.
work really well with you, Michael.
Yeah, it's. Do you have a, link you can share or something that I can?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah. It's just amazing the levels that you can get to. Mike is probably the most automated workshop I've ever seen. And it's with simple stuff too. That's what's the impressive about it. You know, turning on your dust collector. Big problem for most people, but you know,
You want to know something?
yeah.
It's necessity is mother invention. How many times when I was doing plasma work and then doing router work, I forget to turn stuff on and ruin a piece.
Mhm.
I'm like, then I had a checklist, and then I forgot to check the checklist, and now it's like, okay, there we go, perfect.
I've just
Great.
pasted. I've just pasted a Google search link in images. So like, these
Yeah.
things have been for years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to send that to myself now, so I might drop out for a second. So hang
But,
on.
but I must give people a caution visiting Mike's workshop is while you're leaning on the bench grinder, don't ask him how do you turn on the grinder.
Well, I tell you, it's funny because I have some of that stuff for convenience when I use it. The other stuff is I have three grandkids who like to come in the shop, and one day they walked over to the grinder, they put their hand on the sanding belt, and they flipped the switch, right? And or they were going to flip the switch, and I smacked their hand out of the way, and I immediately put like 30 Alexa devices on, or anything that can turn on. And the last thing I do when I say I leave is I say, Alexa, garage time is over, and it literally turns off everything in the shop. And when I come in, everything is off, so they can't hurt themselves. So
I'm impressed. I'm impressed. It's very rare that I leave a subject or conversation, and I'm thoroughly impressed with what you've done there. It's brilliant. Yeah.
it's just fun. I am, I've had my shop since 2022, no, 20, I'm sorry, 2002. And I've moved it from New York to one place in Florida, then moved it to another place in Florida. And I retired, and it's what I do. Keeps me busy.
The thing that amazes me is Mike created a product, a screen set for using with Mach 3, among other things. And he threw most of the functionality that you just saw, all the Alexa stuff into that software. So I mean,
Yeah.
you can just go, onto Amazon and buy a bunch of those power strips and
Yeah,
put them
four of
in.
them for like $22 or something,
And
Look,
What's that?
the Alexa stuff is impressive, but being an IT person, I caution you guys about having those devices around your house. I'm actually becoming very resistive every day to things like Alexa and Siri and so on.
Mhm.
We're watching TV at night, and I've got quite a few smart devices around the house, and I've gone through and gone turn off the microphones. And like yesterday, I was sitting in the lounge room watching a movie, and in the bedroom, I can hear, "I'm sorry, but I didn't understand that." You know what I mean? And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Well, I wasn't bloody talking to you, and I wasn't asking you to listen to what I'm doing there either." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
think the intrusiveness is becoming a greater issue. There's a lot of things I love about it, but the privacy issue is of great concern.
If you doubt that sometime, let's pick a random food object, and somebody say that the name of that random food object, and watch over the next 2 or 3 days, you're going to be receiving ads for that without ever having typed in anything or whatever.
I went in and two things. One, I have a completely separate network in my garage, different router, different this, different that, everything's separate, and the Alexas are isolated. And on wherever I could, I configured, like on my iPhone and everywhere else, not to share information across devices, and it's very tedious, but I did it.
No, that's not the problem. What the problem is your iPhone has a GPS in it, and so your iPhone or the and it's not just the iPhone. I was going to say it's the telco that your phone is connected to, but that's not the case anymore. It's actually Google and Apple have exact GPS location down to better than 5 meters of where you actually are.
Oh yeah, sure.
And like, to give you an example of a known problem is a lot of people are buying these. I've actually got one here somewhere, but they're just these little cheap $20 and $30 security and baby monitor cameras that you can monitor through your phone, and you don't port forwarding or anything like that on your router. And what the problem is that's actually establishing an account with another third party, someone you don't know. And what's happening, you open that app through your phone to view what's happening at your house. Like, for example, the doorbells. When you open that app on your phone and you're at home to see who's at your front door, Google, Apple, some guy in China has access to your GPS location where you are through that device. So in a roundabout way, they're getting your location. And, you know, particularly if you've got like a camera that's watching your car in the driveway, for example, so they know when you're home and when you're not home. Now, that could be a level of paranoia. And one of the things that you have at the moment is these people are miles away. They don't know, you know, where, like, you know, they don't have instant access to you. But all of these things are of concern. And one of the things you were saying you had it isolated, or you had your air gap sort of thing. But I was at a client's, and we're talking about the HDS, whatever, the aggregated heads for a CNC router. Now, this is a very unique product. It's not something you see come up on your Facebook or your YouTube or something like that. And I'm on their computer. My stuff isn't logged in there. It's only my phone. You know what I mean? That's not in my pocket. And we're talking about this aggregated head. And the next day on my computers at home, I'm seeing it pop up as an ad for the
That was exactly my point.
You know what I mean? And it's sort of like, at the moment, it seems fun and it's helpful, but there's people that are listening to what you are saying. Now, at the moment, it's only for the purpose of making the text to speech or speech to text or whatever more recognizable. But it's something we should all be aware of, that we are losing privacy more than these national ID cards and things like that every day. It's a big concern.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I disabled microphone access to almost every app, and I disabled cross-app sharing of information for every single application. Every single one.
It's so easy to overlook something. That's the problem. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to mention kosher dill pickles. Okay. And next week I'll let you know.
If you get them, if you start getting ads.
If they start showing up in my ads, because, you know, I dare any of you to say that as well at your house and see.
What, kosher dill pickles? I don't eat them, Bill, but yeah, I guess let's see.
See, here's another one. I'll just do a quick screen Windows Shift S, and And I'll just paste this in the chat. Close that, paste this in the chat. Do you want to pop that screen, that little picture up, Bill, so everyone can see it?
You can share the screen.
Okay, hang on a second.
You want.
Share. Where's that share gone? Share screen. And I'll share my desktop, I guess. I'll just do, where are we? Screen, share. Do you guys see my entire desktop?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay, down the bottom here in the bottom right-hand corner. Copilot preview. How many of you
Mhm.
guys have got that on your computer?
No, I don't.
I have Copilot.
Yeah, wait for the surprise. It just gets forced onto your computer without your permission. That's Microsoft's AI.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Windows 11. Yeah, I don't have Windows 11
No,
yet.
this is
Yeah.
on
No,
Windows 10.
it comes out before it gets added to anything regardless, because they were trying to set it up
Oh,
last
shoot.
week.
Yeah, I see it. I just looked and now it's there. Your AI Copilot.
Mhm.
Try it now. And what's really bad about Microsoft's AI is they hijacked what was supposed to be a free, open source, not for profit that was funded by Elon Musk and a few other people. And now it's for profit, and Elon Musk is suing them
Yeah, and he'll
because he
probably
doesn't like
win.
the direction it's going. Yeah, because he's got plenty of money to fight. And
Yeah, you get Copilot on your phone too, I believe. I think I got it on mine, my iPhone, Copilot.
yeah, I
Yeah.
have not clicked on it.
Well,
Now,
guys,
when you click on it, see how you can disable that. This is the thing that pisses me off the most, is you cannot disable it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never tried.
That's what my gripe is.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
uninstall it off
You
once
can't.
you get it, once you download it or whatever, how you get it, you can't like uninstall it.
They're
No.
embedding it in your operating system. Apparently, I haven't done it yet, but you can go through your registry editor and everything and disable it. But the problem is you should have the option of saying, I don't want this thing, or have a physical switch that you can turn the microphone or camera on or off. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be something that's on all the time. It should be something that, as you're doing, Mike, you walk into the workshop and you flick a switch and that initiates that Alexa works in that workshop at that time only, if you choose to.
Mhm.
It shouldn't be something just because you want to use your computer that AI should be in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone
Yeah.
has great areas that they talk about in their house with their friends, and you don't need people hearing what you're saying.
Yep,
Oh, you mean they
exactly.
hear all the bad things I say about Bill when he's not around?
Oh, wow.
It's more
Wow.
so.
Oh boy.
Imagine if you've got a proprietary idea for a new AI update, etc. They're listening
Yeah.
to you, and
Mhm.
and they're targeting keywords, and it could be a case of, oh, that's a good idea. Now they've stolen your idea, and they're going to say it's theirs. It's going to get to that eventually.
Mm.
Be
And
talking
you
to a
can
friend.
program G code with the AI.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I haven't tried to cut with it, but it'll do it. I was doing G code and Chat GPT over 6 months ago, and so I imagine all the others just as easy. You were going to say something, Scott?
I was, but I forgot now.
Put your hand up sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Nah.
Have
we're
you guys ever watched the Netflix show The $1 Billion Code?
No.
yes.
Yeah. Watch that. It's not stolen by AI, but watch The $1 Billion Code. I want to talk about stolen applications.
Hmm.
Well, how do you think Bill Gates started?
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, paid $50,000 for that program from a guy, and yeah.
Yeah.
But it's on Netflix. The $1 Billion Code. It's definitely worth watching.
Yeah.
I'll go into that a bit later on. Yeah.
Hmm. All right, gentlemen, we are past time when we usually
Yeah.
shut this down for the for the time. Some,
Yeah,
I've
some
had
guy hijacked the whole meeting, and now it's,
no. Some guy was requested to hijack the meeting, if you recall.
I think it was brilliant and interesting content. I
Yeah.
think it was, yeah, I think it was brilliant. Because that's one of the things that I'm going through at the moment. You've got these individual workbenches set up to do something that you might only use once a week or once every few weeks, and that's like 2 meters of your work, 2 square meters of your workspace used. And I'm going to put my mill on a little on a trolley. I'm going to put my 3D printers onto a trolley, and I'm going to push them all into a corner when I'm not using it. And that'll get me something like around about 10 or 15 square meters of workspace, open area that I can have. And when I need it, I'll pull them out and line them up so I can use them. And that's sort of like where I was heading. And I loved a few of those ideas that Mike's used with the cantilevers on that trolley to pull out the printers and so on, so you can actually fold.
I'll send you guys, what I'll do, Bill, is we'll figure out where to put this, and I'll put some of the pictures and the sketch, I'll put the stuff up in a place where you can give people access to it if you want, so they can see the details. It's not finished yet, and as I finish it, I'll just keep adding the pieces. I've got a couple more weeks before I finish it up 100%, and I'm happy to share it because, space is of, utmost importance to me.
Time is ticking there. We want to see this thing now.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah.
I can see that you're technologically challenged there, Michael. So
yes, yes, I am.
If I can make a suggestion, why don't you make a Google Drive and then just share the folder? And then if we've got a place, do we have like a file share or something like that on the
There's one on Facebook.
Bill had it already. Yeah. If he didn't, I didn't want to make a new place, but if there's a place, I'll put it there. If not, I'll make a place.
If you post a picture of the bench and then a files related to it, and people can then visiting that and just share the OneDrive that's got all the files. And I'll be diving into that quite frequently.
Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff that I've done like that. Like you said, the table, like that whole little fab table is only 2 feet by 3 feet, and then I've got all these these pneumatics underneath to lift that other table up in a really small space. And to fit that 2 by 3 table where it is, I had to cut an inch off of each end because it was 2 inches too big, and just on and on. It's everything is cutting an inch here, an inch there to get.
And that table spins too, by the way.
Yeah, the table spins.
I like that. Great.
And the interesting part too is it spins, and inside, when you think about it, when it spins, the pneumatics and all the control stuff doesn't twist up. There's a pneumatic coupler inside that allows the air to spin and not get twisted up. So I've got pictures of all of that, the parts list, whatever you need.
Just so people realize how brilliant that little magnetic chuck grinding table that Michael calls it is, as a welding table, to have something that automatically rotates your job while you're welding, particularly with speed control, you can achieve magical looking welds on a pipe or something like that. That's brilliant. I love it. I'm going to be duplicating that. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Not to be ripping that. That's a brilliant idea. Not that a turntable is anything new, but having it as a combination that you can grind as well as weld, and just so many applications. Like it's brilliant. I love it. Yeah, there's a lot of good ideas there.
Yeah, definitely.
Smartest guy I know.
I don't know about that, Bill, but wait, I always say I'm friends with you. How smart can I be? Come on.
Good point.
Slap.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. He's added a group. Click.
Yeah. I got to tell you, having Mike as a travel partner is amazing. It is just a fun time, laughing the whole time. Just laugh riot. We had a blast at SpaceX in Houston, Johnson Space Center, and everything.
It was fun. I'm glad you let me tag along. So anyway,
I had to come back. No, that was brilliant what you had there. No, it was great.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, we do this Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. And if you'd like to join us, we put a link inside of our Facebook group, which is the hashtag CNC Router Tips group. you can get in through there. And when I post these videos on YouTube, I'll put a link as well. Thanks guys for
All right, Bill.
everything, showing up tonight, and had a blast.
Take it
That was
easy. Good night, guys.
Guys, have a good one.
Good night.
Bye.
Cheers.